Welcome to Calculus AB video for skill number 115. I can transform functions algebraically and graphically. And featured below is a plan of the Parthenon. And after people stood on the stylobate to worship Athena, this temple was taken over and used for the purpose of what? Alright, this is skill 115 and we'll start our notes on page 115A. And we've talked a little bit about transformation this year already, and we definitely talked about it in pre-calculus. So here's the 4 things that I think a student should be able to do from this skill. A student will be able to match an equation to a graph. So if I give you a graph, you should be able to recognize what the equation is. A student will be able to sketch a graph from an equation. So if I take any one of the parent functions and I do some transformations on it, you should be able to take that transformed function and sketch a rough graph. A student will be able to describe transformations when given a graph or equation. So similarly, if I provide a graph, for example, if I gave you this graph, you would say that graph looks like a parabola that's shifted to the left maybe 3 units and up 1 unit. We should also be able to describe transformations from an equation. So if I said the absolute value of x plus 7 times 2, you would say that's shifted to the left 7 and vertically stretched by a factor of 2. Which means left 7 and it's vertically stretched by a factor of 2. Alright, and a student will be able to take a given graph and draw transformations of the provided graph. So that means I will give you some sort of curve or piecewise function and say here's the curve, and you need to take that curve and vertically stretch it by a factor of 2, or take it and shift it up 1 and to the right 5, something to that effect. So a quick review of the different types of function transformations. We have 6 of them. If we add a k after the function, it's going to shift the whole function k units up. If we replace our x with x minus h, it's going to shift the function h units to the right. For example, x minus 3 would be a parabola 3 units to the right. And if I did x plus 7 to the third, it would be a cubic function that moved 7 units to the left. Negative f of x is a reflection over the x-axis, and f of negative x is a reflection over the y-axis. So if we take all of our x's and make them negative x's, we're going to flip from the right side over to the left side. A times f of x is a vertical stretch by a, so all the y coordinates get multiplied by a, and f of 1 over b times x is a horizontal stretch by b. So if I gave you the absolute value of 1/3 x, that would be considered a horizontal stretch by a factor of 3. So, example 1, describe the transformations and sketch a rough graph. So f of x is x plus 3 squared. That is a parabola that has shifted left 3 units. And so I've sketched the graph over here. As you can see, all these graphs are very approximate.
Go!
Example 2. Describe the transformations needed to acquire the given graph from the parent function. Then write the equation. So the graph that we have looks to be like a absolute value function. The absolute value function starts at the origin and has a slope of 1 and negative 1. So the first thing we did is we reflected the graph, which gave us an upside down shape. Then we horizontally stretched the graph by 2, so it kind of widens it out. and then we shifted it left 2 units, so we're wide and to the left 2 units, and then we shifted it down 1 unit, so we're over 2, down 1, like that. And while I was going through that description, I wrote down each transformation that happened. So reflection, we put a negative in front of the parent function. A horizontal stretch by 2 means we replace x with 1 over 2 times x. If we're going to go left 2, we're going to replace x with x plus 2. And then if we're going to go down 1, we subtract 1 from the whole function at the very end. Example 3 is we're given a graph and asked to graph a transform function. So here's the provided graph, and they tell us that it's f of x, and they ask us to draw g of x, which is 1/2 times f of x, which means it's a vertical stretch by 1/2. So all of our y values get cut in half. So this horizontal line at 2 becomes a horizontal line of 1. This piece here, which goes from -2 to +2, gets cut in half, so it goes from -1 to +1. And then our square root function gets skinnier or closer to the axis. So this was a pretty quick survey of what's needed for Skill 115. It really is building on several previous examples of transformations and should move fluidly at the calculus level. If you'd like further examples, I would encourage you to check out the AP Calculus BC video number BC 203. Additionally, you could check out the Algebra 2 video for skill number 87. Thanks for watching skill video 115, and featured below is the floor plan of the Parthenon, and users would stand upon the stylobate and worship the Virgin Athena. And in the Middle Ages, when Christianity was sweeping across the globe, they took over many of the temples, and the Parthenon was used as a church of the Virgin Saint Mary.